middle of the film, and I was watching a little bit, and then I was watching some of your faces, guys. So I feel like every time still like, yeah, it's still happening. And this is also one of the main things, because what you've seen is still happening every day until now in Idlib. So you can't really feel that this is, I'm looking back to something and have some memories. It's more about the importance of making the film now out, and as many people as they will watch it, and how many politicians and people who can really make decisions can really be engaged with this and encourage them to do something.
You had hundreds of hours of footage. How difficult was it emotionally going through that?
Like, we've worked on this for 2 years, me and my fellow director, Edward Watts. He's flying now from USA. Arrived in the morning. So for 2 years we were just trying to be like, take one step back and be the director, not just the character. So and sometimes I felt like, yeah, I could have done it in a good way, but in some places like I couldn't really judge many things because I'm still feeling the emotional and the situation itself. But at the end, I know, like, as we were doing the film, there was more 2 cities. They were displaced, Ghouta and Daraa. So we were watching them and looking at this, as much as I feel like so bad of looking at these memories and feel the suffering the same, and especially that we lost Aleppo. So if I was there, I think it will be much easier for me to do the film. But because I know that this is a place where I've never been back to, so I was like, yeah, I need to ignore every feeling now and just focus about how the film needs to be perfect in a way that all of you can come here and feel that this is, I wanted to watch it to the end. And I feel like I'm glad that we did it in that way.
Is there anything that you couldn't watch, or anything that you thought you'd be okay watching and you realized you weren't?
Like, I watched everything many, many times, and especially with some people in the team who's asking, like, what before this, what after, what behind the scene, what happened here, who is these people and why these people were here, and then a lot of conversation about many things, which for me was obvious, but when you are working on this, you need to go more details about everything. But I'm still, until now, with everything, so proud that everything happened as it is. So I feel like, maybe because also we lost, so I feel no, I'm happy that I'm watching this, and I'm still like, every time, in every screening, maybe not sitting the whole film, but I'm still like coming in some bits because I want to see what the people about these details.
Now, I want to take you back to the beginning. How did you start working as a citizen journalist, filming for Channel 4 News?
Like, I started 2011 with my mobile phone, and at that time there was many access for many journalists to come into Syria in different ways, and I think many of my colleagues at Channel 4 News come to many places in Syria. But it started with them in 2015 when Aleppo was announced that the most dangerous place in the world, and the Turkish border was totally closed. So many journalists who they were coming before, they couldn't even come. And then I heard from my friend that Channel 4 News was looking for some material from inside and some people who can do stories for them. And I was doing a small series called Dream, and it was about small hope stories in the city. One of them was the boy, 13 years old, who's built Aleppo in a paper, and I was posting this on YouTube. And I was so happy that, like, maybe 500 people watched my video. So I was like, yeah, it's nice. Maybe if I continued with this, it would be like more audience. And then when James, who was instead of Nevine at that time, from Channel 4 News, contacted me and said, like, I got your name with many other people. Can you show us some of your film? And I sent them that link. And then he said, like, we need that to be again for us. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do it. It's fine. And then I do it. I did it. And 1 week after that, I got an email from Ben saying, like, I don't know who is he. So I've got email Channel 4 News. He said, I'm the head of Channel 4 News. I just want to say, like, congratulations. It's amazing work, and it's 1 million view. So I was like, oh my God, I can't look back to my YouTube again. And then we start like have more conversation with the team, and more we were like, I was part of the team.
Ben, how did that relationship develop?
Well, the film that she made, it was called the boy who was rebuilding Aleppo, and he made a sort of city on a table out of paper mache, and it was an incredible thing. But it was the eye that Waad had for the detail and for the kid, because the kid came alive. And of course, in a war situation, you get lots of bang bang and you get lots of explosions, and I think in this day and age when almost every explosion is filmed from different angles, the Syria, I think there at one point in the Syria conflict there were 15 million pieces of video on the internet showing you what was going on. Wow. Not that it made a difference, but this really stood out as humanizing the conflicts, and at that point making it seem like there was some hope. And then Waad made the film, and we watched it and thought, this is amazing. We had a great digital team at Channel 4 News, and it went kind of viral because people were desperate for stuff about Syria, but they didn't necessarily want to watch just the suffering. And then so we thought, wow, we found someone really special here. And we also then learned that she was living in a hospital, which we thought was a pretty amazing thing as well, and also could be interesting. And so there was a small break until we got the next film, but I can't remember. The next film was from inside the hospital, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was that the one that went...
The bombing of this is
really viral? Yeah. I mean, I remember, I'm sure a lot of you will have seen Waad's news pieces from Aleppo, and I say a lot of you will have seen because hundreds of millions of people ended up watching. And your footage, Waad, was absolutely extraordinary, as you say.
Yeah.
It was so human and so intimate, told you everything you needed to know about the war, and you wouldn't see one gun.
Yeah, there was an intimacy.
There'd be no gun
I think
shot.
there was something about being in a hospital A&E with doctors who were trying their best.
Yeah.
That reached out to everyone, because everyone's had an experience either with a child or a relative or themselves of being in hospital A&E, and then you see it wasn't just the sort of furious footage of a war. It was people arriving in A&E and then people doing their best to try and save their lives. And it was just the way in which it was shot, which was different to anything else we've ever seen. I mean, some of it was too much for us to put on the television. But we, over that year, 2016, we built a website called Inside Aleppo, and there were 450 million views of that Aleppo material, which is the most amount that any package of Aleppo was filmed. And we knew that we had something special, but it was always a huge worry to us that they were there and that we were getting a huge amount of views and kudos and also journalistic pride from this stuff. Yeah. And the flip side of it was, well, shit, they're in Aleppo. And we kind of wished they would leave, but they wouldn't. Even when they had the chance to leave, we tried. Well, because we thought this is a very special person, a very special family. And from outside, you got the sense this is only going one way, I'm afraid, because the Russians became involved, Britain was distracted by Brexit, America was distracted by Trump, and so on and so forth, and it didn't seem it didn't seem right for us to be relying on Waad, but we did get Waad out for a while. We trained her. Federico, who's one of our foreign producers, met with Waad and gave her a bit of camera training, not that I think she needed it, and gave her a camera. And then we actually decided we're going to put her on a staff contract so that she was insured the same as the rest of us, so that we felt that we had some sort of responsibility whilst we had some of the reflected glory of her material as well.
And I just want to really about this especially because I was shocked when they said like, we need you to sign contract because like I know in Aleppo there was many citizen journalists and we were all like filming together for like years before this and no one of us has like ever a contract with anyone. And it was really for me like, oh my God, they really like care about what I'm doing. And I've done before like some stuff with some channels, and we've reached the point where the film need to be just like the colors and the sound, and then will be out. And then I've never heard anything about the film. They have no sign one paper with them, and that's because I don't know that that's what we need to do. While when I got that contract, I was like, oh my God, like this is something really new for all of us. And when they were speaking about like you need to leave, or they were really worried about me, for me in Aleppo was the whole world is just like what's happening here. So I know that there's Brexit, but I don't care. I don't know what does that mean. I know there's Trump, and it seems like good guy.
Well,
I don't know what he can do. So we really didn't know what's outside. So for me, like they were like worried about me. Yeah, you need to go. You need to leave. You need to leave. I was like, if I sign this contract with them, that doesn't mean that I will leave because they said to me this. So they were really very worried. And in many places, they were like, I was just want to sleep. And then 4 a.m. in the morning, Ben writing like, are you okay? I was like, yes, what's happening? He said, no, nothing. I just like woke up. I was thinking about you, what's happening. And then, okay, I come back to sleep, and then 5 a.m., Fede, like, are you okay, Waad? I was like, please.
Please fuck off. Yeah. But there is obviously I think, probably, as executive producer viewing cuts of the film, what I felt weirdest about, and at the time, was there was a period where they went out of Aleppo, and then it was totally encircled, and then they decided to go back in.
Yeah, which is a terrifying moment in the film.
And for us,
I want to scream at you.
Yeah, and for us at the time, it was.
For them, I just signed the contract in Turkey, and I'm coming back. So they were like, no. Yeah, so it's cut off. So she's clearly staying outside, and then everyone's like, yeah. And then we got this message that she's back inside, and I was like, you're kidding me. She can't be. And I think that was one of the hardest bits of the film that Waad and Ed were dealing with, was when I was viewing cuts they'd done. It's like, well, you kind of still can't. I think as an outsider, having not lived through that, people here, you feel like you want to leave Britain at the moment. Maybe, obviously, I'm an objective editor of Channel 4 News, but you've driven so mad that you might want to leave somewhere and not go back. But you would certainly. Any of us probably in this room would want to leave Aleppo. If you got out, you wouldn't want to go back. And I think the film explains, that is the central thing of explaining to Sama why you went back. And we really troubled over that. Yeah. And when you went back in, we were like, can we really continue taking the stuff? And then she sent in another amazing piece, and we were like, yeah, okay, we can. Convinced them.
Yeah.
And how did that work? How were you getting footage from Besieged Aleppo to the Channel 4 newsroom? And also, Ben, how was it, with so much exposure, keeping Waad anonymous and safe?
Yeah, the main things was I had a Dropbox, which is, I can't remember what size was, but it was like, if I uploaded one video, it will be like finished. So I was like one, then one, then one. And then they like brought me 1 tera Dropbox. Right. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then my laptop wasn't enough to have 1 tera space. So I've started like, struggling of, I have really good support and I can do very good things, but I need just to find a way to do this. So I start like filming stories and uploading them on Dropbox with 1 file with some of the information. And my English was so bad. So the first time even we had a call, before we even signed the contract, I was speaking with Nevine, and she was our adoptive producer now. She was like speaking with me. I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I really couldn't understand one single word. So I had like to write this in English, but in Arabic. But then we have also Kamal, the translator, and he's also producer at Channel 4 News. So I was writing to them in Arabic, and then he was translating and give me some good words to start like learning. And then I was like just sending this material and continue my life with filming something else. And then I've seen the piece, like send me the whole piece finished, and they like, look at this. Is it okay? Is there anything? And I was just like, very quick check. And because it's also in English, so I can't understand every single word. So here's was Hamza. So Hamza, please check with me this. And with like very quick way, you can understand that whatever the words was over this piece, it's like as they were living with me in this situation. So I felt so grateful because I don't need really to check every details about what they were trying to do, but they were getting the whole material, translating everything, like working I don't know how many hours, but for me when it's finished, it was like as I'm really trying to be there doing this. So comfortable for me that I know that other channels, unfortunately, they start like to say that word about, oh, it's civil wars or it's terrorist, or even if in the best way of this, like very bad word for us, for the people as who lived the story. While for me, I was like so happy that it's looked like my mind with them, and this is what I want to tell the story, and this is the way of how I want to truly say it to outside.
What do you want to say? No, I think that there's a particular thing about
actually.
There's a thing about Channel 4 News. Sorry, that I should explain that we are used to working with people who are not necessarily British, or they are native to the places they're in. They are and they will film material, and they don't necessarily report for us. We like it when they do, but this was a particular thing that I noticed that after Waad had been working for us for 3 or 4 months. The BBC, ITV, Sky, they tried to find people who were activists, who were filming stuff, and then they were turning the camera on themselves and saying, Bashar al-Assad is a dog, and da-da-da, and this is happening. And of course, what Waad was doing was she was filming material to a higher level than anyone else, but also the stories she chose, she was telling people stories without inserting herself. And it was a tricky thing to start with, because of course you have to take a side. If you're in a besieged city, you are by definition on one side. But we were just telling, and we got a lot of criticism from the Syrians, from the Russians. I'm still trolled by Russians, some of whom seem to live in Froome. You may be here tonight. I can't remember what your name is, thingy from Froome, who's clearly Russian. I go to, it's weird because I've got friends in Froome. When I go to Froome, I'm always looking for this woman who is definitely Russian, but it just, for a long time now has been trolling me. And will troll me more tonight because she's probably tapped my phone. But there was a lot of criticism that we weren't showing both sides, and we were showing the other side because Christian and Gurumurthy, other reporters were going to the other side and being taken to hospitals where people were getting shelled from inside, but the casualties were, it was an asymmetric war. There was 3 or 4 people in the hospital, whereas the hospital inside Aleppo was overflowing. And we had, what Waad gave us was amazing access, and in the sense, the camera was objective.
Yeah.
Waad was objective because she was just filming what was around her. And I think that was the wonderful thing, that we never wanted to put her on camera or have her voice. Her voice was her eye. That makes sense.
Yeah. Talking about Russians, you've agreed to talk about something that's not widely known, which is a real treat for us, and that's what happened behind the scenes when Waad was leaving Syria. Can you both talk about that? What happened when you were trying to leave Syria and what you were doing, Ben?
I really don't know what was happening outside. I was more like, we had the last week, there was cut off from all the services. I had just one phone, which you need to have the web from the regime area to like get just the WhatsApp at least, and you don't have any like place to charge your camera or whatever. So I was like trying to, as much as I can, to keep that, because I don't know how long we will stay. But I had the WhatsApp with Fede, Ben and Nevine, so I was just like trying to write to them every 6-7 hours, where also you need to like to walk long time to reach that services. So I was like, just, we are okay, we got this, we are here, and I'm trying to not give very like clear details, because the regime can catch this,
Yeah.
and they can't catch them too. So I was like just trying to say we're still alive, and even our families, they have no idea about where we were or how long we even know, and we. So I was just like as much as I can to keep them informed where we are and what's happening, but at the same time we couldn't really be like so in very clear line. But then they were trying like, is there any way for you to get? We are trying our best to get you out. And I was like, please don't, because this is not just me, and I can't just like be out alone. And also could be more risk, because if they knew that I am someone in Britain like care about me, so it's also for them more target. And that's actually what they were more like freaking you out, right?
I mean, we weren't sure that Waad and Hamza and the rest of the doctors would get out, and we tried everything. And I think you're in a sort of new era of history, because I've been doing this for long enough to have gone through Kosovo and Sierra Leone and other wars where if you made a fuss about something, then normally something would be done by the UN or by the British government or the American government. But in Aleppo, I think it was really the start of the new period of history we're in, where really shit things can happen and not much will happen about it. So it was frightening in that we were contacting the normal people, UN, EU, FCO, and they were, oh, this is terrible, yeah, we'll do what we can. And then you realise you weren't getting anywhere, really. The Red Cross were good. I think it was a Red Cross person Hamza was talking to, or a UN person. They were very good, and they started talking to Hamza about getting everyone out, which we were very clear about. And then I was invited to a conference in Rome where John Kerry was giving his last speech as Secretary of State for US Affairs, and then Sergei Lavrov was there. So I thought, well, I'm going to go and I will try and talk about Waad to them. And I talked to John Kerry, and he was very engaged, and he took notes. I don't know if that made any difference. And then I was in a room, and Sergei Lavrov, I'm not a Russian speaker, walked in with 3 of his bodyguards, and I thought, I've got to talk to him. And as I was walking up, I was thinking, should I be mentioning Waad? Because in the same way now that when the UN are telling the Russians what the coordinates are for hospitals in Idlib, they may well be bombing those hospitals. Should I be mentioning her name and Hamza or not? And I went up to him and I said, hello, Mr. Lavrov, and he said, who are you? And I said, I'm from Channel 4 News, and he said, what is that? And then I was offended, obviously. But I said, we have a reporter inside Aleppo, and we're trying to get her out. And if anything happens to her, we will hold you responsible. And he said, you should not be in this room. And then he was very rude to me, and I was picked up by 2 Russian guys and thrown out. And I never knew. I was thinking, shit, should I have said that? Because now they're more valuable than they were before, or is that a marker? And we didn't, and from outside we didn't know whether we were doing the right thing or not.
Even inside, no one was really know, because even the Red, like Arab Cross, they were targeted in one place in the second convoy. So like really, there's no right and no wrong for anything to do. It was just like all related to the people, even not their leaders, but all the people who are in that checkpoints, if they want to let these people out or not let them out. And we tried to explain that in the film about like how we were survived in the end. But there's no word of this, and I would just say really until now it's like we just lucky, but nothing else. And you've seen the first convoy where people need to go, and this should be the first one where Russia and Iran and the regime need to be like, look, we are leaving, like, let people go out safely. They shot at the first convoy with a sniper, and the guy who was one of the leaders of the civil defense, or the white helmet, he was like injured. So really there was no right and no wrong in everything with these crazy people.
Waad, when you did leave downstairs, Waad and Ben were reminiscing about the moment Waad walked into the Channel 4 newsroom, and it's a really, really wonderful moment. Can you tell us about it? What happened? Start with the Christmas party.
You. with to have the Christmas party.
Well, while I was in,
I left 22 December.
so we didn't have a
2016.
Christmas party because everyone at Channel 4 News was very worried, and all our families were worried, and it became a central sort of thing. So we were kind of waiting for Waad to get out, and every day it was like, yeah, we'll get out today, and then it's like, oh no, we went to the checkpoint, and then we went to, and then it's like, oh my, and it's like, sorry guys, he's still not out, and obviously everyone was very upset. It wasn't like, oh, for fuck's sake, just get out.
We want our Christmas party.
You can't cancel Christmas. And then she got out, and everyone was very happy, and we had a huge party, obviously. And then Waad, when did you come?
February 2017.
February 2017. And we tried, Waad coming into the newsroom was a real moment, because there were a lot of people who were talking to her, a lot of people who were dealing with her material.
No, I can tell you, everyone in the newsroom sent me message, even the people who
Yes.
were in
We
the
did
studio.
ask
I
people
don't know.
not to send Waad messages because we were trying to filter stuff.
Yeah, but everyone sent
Yeah.
me a message, at
What-
least one.
And what happened when you walked in the
Like when I was in Aleppo, I have like these messages. I'm from Channel 4 News team. I'm watching you. Like we are all with you, and like all this love so much. And every message is coming. Like I know I will die, but like please don't give me this feeling every minute. So when I went out and I've had long phone call with everyone and most of the people who I worked with very closely. And then 1 month after this, they had me to have visa to come to the UK, and it was for the RTS award, Royal Society and Television. So the first day I came into the office, and for me was like, I've never thought I would be here one day, like whatever situation happened. And for them, the same thing, like they knew me in Aleppo, they don't know even my face. I think just you and Nevine have one picture from Fede, and that's it. So no one really know me, how I look like, or if I'm tall or not.
We
or
thought you were a
big.
bloke.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. I know this. Everyone told me this. And then I just walked in, and everyone was like coming to me and like crying, me and everyone else. And just like really this scene, until now, I can't. It's one of the things which, if I wanna write something later or do something, it will be one of the scenes which I will really save, because just like a huge amount of people who we don't know each other, but it's really like family. Yeah. And then everyone was trying like to calm down. It's fine. Everyone like, okay, no tears. Everything is okay. And then someone coming from behind, very tall and very white, and his eyes very red. And it was Jon Snow. So he was coming like running and crying, and then everyone started like again.
we had to ban John because John kept coming. My dad, I can't believe you're here. I could see it. And what did he say to you?
He said to me in the second day, like, "Waad, I see Aleppo in your eyes." And then we both start like crying. The next couple of days, everyone like see John coming. They were, "Waad, go from this way. Don't let him see you."
So Waad, how did the idea of a feature documentary come about?
So when I came that trip, the first one I came, I bring all my hard drive with me. Yeah. There were 12 hard drives. So we sat together, Ben, me, and Nevine, and we start like show them some of this material, because when we were in Aleppo, we didn't have the chance to speak about what else I was doing. So through the whole time, I was having some stories for the news. I was recording some stuff for like an evidence stuff, which is just really for lawyer if he want to use this, or organization. And out of this, I was following some people through the years, like Salim Afra and their kids, and I was recording all my personal story. So when we sit together, I show them some of this, and there was a small idea I was working on about pregnancy in war zone, but it was all before I brought Sama. So we had that conversation about we need to do something. First was for the news, more details about the situation. And then like they were like, no, maybe we don't need it to be news. This is need to be something so big. And then when they bring Channel 4.
Channel 4 were very keen to back something, and then PBS came on board as well.
Yeah, and then BBS Frontline.
And it was originally going to be an hour long which is
47 minutes.
47 minutes because of the breaks, and
Right.
and I think those things are built in a certain way, and we made that, and it wasn't. I think we all, this is good, this is great, and no one was really happy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, because I thought, well, we'd watched so much of this material, and we knew Waad, we knew the story, and so we kind of slightly secretly started making a longer one,
Yeah. Then
which
like
is the one you've
10
seen
minutes,
tonight.
10 minutes until we reached.
This bit longer, and then do a bit more, and then it's got longer, and it got to its natural length. But it was a very organic process. But it came down to Waad and Ed editing for a few months, a long time in Ed's house where he was living in a church at the time, but weirdly, editing there, and that's where the film. I mean,
Got the soul
Yeah.
of what you've seen now. We did part of like the longest period, 9 months in ITN production in the edit suite, and then we borrow an edit from Dan, you know Dan,
Yes.
and then we went to that church and we stayed for 5 months working on the last version, and that one when like everyone came at the end, and they were like on board with us in some places, but when the last one happened, they were always like all like watching, and I've seen their faces when we finished that. No one said any single comment. It was really like great.
Right, I don't think we have time for many more questions because I'm going to open it out to you guys. I'm sure you're bursting with questions. Waad, 2 questions, final questions before we go to the audience. Can you tell us what has happened, an update, what has happened to your friends Afa and her children and everyone in the film?
Like Afra and their Salim, their children, they live now in Turkey, in Gaza Antab, Taus, and they just like have new life there. It's not very good, and Turkey is very like racism place, especially in the school for the children. But this is like just a place where they can stay now until we will find a way for something else. The hospital itself still working in Idlib in a place called Adana, and most of the staff you've seen still working there, and there's more people came from other hospitals, and still Al-Quds hospital name, so something like give us hope that whatever happened still like going on. The situation at Idlib so bad, and just the hospital itself being there and still working, it's also like, I don't know, it's the story itself still continuing in every level. And Ed worked together for the first 1 year where I was in Turkey, so I came to here many times, but most of the work was like online through Skype. And then the second year when me, Hamza, and my kids moved to the UK, and we claim asylum, and we live now here for 1 year and a half. And just
how is
now
life
touring
here?
with the film. Like really good. I'm not speaking about most of the Syrians or the refugees here, but I got the whole family, so really good. I can't feel like very strange place. There's really good Syrian community, and Channel 4 news like team all like still together every day, so still like for me not very strange place.
And what's next for you, Waad?
Now I've started on Channel 4 News in January. I worked for 1 week, and
Not
then
really, I mean,
Yeah. 1 week, and then the film was doing. It was just right when we finished the editing, and we applied for the first festival, and since that time I'm away for the screening and festivals and some events. So I supposed to be back when this will be finished.
And you deserve every single award that this has received and that it receives, Waad. It's absolutely extraordinary. Questions? Mike is at the back. This guy there.
Is it on? Hello. Oh, wow, that's loud. Sorry. Oh. There. Has he turned it down? No. So logistically, so you were saying charging the camera, that sort of thing. logistically, what was that like? Because obviously living in a war zone, the logistics of trying to charge a camera. Did Channel 4 just send you 15 batteries and then, you know, you don't know where one thing is, one thing's there, one thing can get lost? How did that work?
Like, for the whole period, I had in every time just one camera, and I got 2 batteries in 2014, and I lost it the next day. I'm a very bad person of organizing my things. So I had all the time like one battery, one mic, which is, you can see in one of the moments, was totally destroyed, bad one. Like Channel 4 News, they give me his lens, and he's asking me for the lens until now. Where is it? So, but also for me was like, it was so good lens. With my camera, I've never used it, so it was so hard for me in the first maybe like 10 days just to understand how the focus is. But it really took me a while, and Fede was giving me thousands of comments every day about like, this is not working, this is not working. Like I know, but I don't know how to use it. So it was so difficult for me because it was a good thing. But my stuff was all very simple, and I had like one Sony, which you've seen in one of the mirror, another Canon D, which you've seen stayed with me to the end.
Is that your university kit right at the start? Is that university equipment?
Yes, the university equipment was with Sony Handy Cam, the very small one. I don't know even its name. And to the end, like we had all the alternative generator, which is you can be like have not that good electricity, but it's good for charging batteries. So I was trying to as much as I can to use that. But then really the last 10 days I had just that battery, and there's no way to charge this. So also some of the material from the last 10 days was by my phone. So I felt like even the end, I went back from 2011 when there's a lot of choices. And I had one drone, which was for one of my friends. So I borrowed that from him many times just to train how to use it. And that's when we take the last scene, and it wasn't me, it was Hamza. And all the previous scene of the drone shot, I was just trying to train how to use it. And it took me a while until I just how to use this, while Hamza did it from the first time because he PlayStation a lot. So
we have a question here, lady.
I've got
sorry.
the mic. I'm sorry.
You got it.
Now that you're safe, which is great, could you talk a bit about the news management ideas of the groups that were controlling the area? I mean, obviously you and your husband were incredibly high profile, so they can't, they obviously knew what you were doing.
yeah.
So what were their views about what you were doing?
You mean from outside?
No, I mean the guys the guys with the guns, who were the jihadist groups who were controlling that part of the
So Aleppo especially was there was no specific fighter group who's controlling the whole area. There was many different groups, and that gives not control for one place. And being a doctor in that place, they can't really attack you in that way. And they need to give you your space because for them, they need you and you need them in any way. So we don't have that big problems with each other, but also we are not friends. So just like normal relationship as part of the community. But also like ISIS was in Aleppo just for 5 months, and the extremist jihadists, they weren't in Aleppo like as a huge numbers. And the area where we were exactly, it was under the control of something called Tajammu Fastaqim, where they were very not liberal but not Islamic group. So they were more people who we knew even from the first of the revolution. Like their leader was a student at Aleppo University before, so they were not that people who can attack like activists. There was many people who were kidnapped during the whole years, and one of my friend's father. So we were just trying to be not in a direct problem with these people, but also, as I said, we weren't friends, and we were we can do anything we want. And sorry, just one additional thing. Wearing just al-hijab for me was something to not be in direct conversation with them about like who I am and what I'm trying to do. But they knew, most of them, that I don't put al-hijab, but just make me in the street putting that, and like give them that feeling that, oh, I respect the area where I am, and I respect the traditional place where I am now. So a lot of conversation was cut off before even started, because I was like, I don't want to go through that battle with them, because for me they are a very serious problem, but not now. And for us all, like, we were agree on this, many of the activists who living in that, and especially in Aleppo, which is like, we knew that this is something will come later, but our only priority was the regime. And I've tried to explain this in one sentence in the film, and very clearly, that we are not supporting them, but now it's our main problem is the regime.
That's exactly the same question I wanted to ask, but since I put my hand up, I just wanted to say I'm full of respect and admiration for what you did, and the film was so harrowing that I thought at the end of it I wouldn't be able to talk. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Yes, a wonderful, compelling film, and well done you, and well done Channel 4. What is Dr. Hamza doing now?
So now he's with the kids. I think they are in bed. When we came here, he can do an exam to did editing for his certificate or something. It needs 1 year of studying, and he can do it very easy. Not okay. Well, fine way. Not hard for him, but he just decided to take 1 or 2 years out from what he was trying to do. So he's working now with a company called Amana Card. It's a British registered company dealing with hospitals in Syria to bring them the fund in a legal way. So he's responsible now for 32 hospitals, but all the work is financially. It's not at all about any medical situation, but he's happy now with this work. And he got a scholarship for next year in London School of Hygiene to do master in public health. So he will do this, and then the year after this he will decide if he wants to be like practice again or just like going in different way. Thank you.
Congratulations on a fantastic film. I just wondered, going back to the title, For Sama, when are you planning to show it to her?
So this is so difficult question, and I really don't know when. Like, I had that question in every screening. But like, you know, this generation now, like Sama now she can go to the YouTube and search for something she wants to see. So she knows that there's a film and called For Sama, and she's so excited about this. And it's coming on Channel 4 on 26th of October next week. So I will try, like, not show her as much as I can, but when she will see, she will see. And I can't really like stop her of this, especially when she will be like maybe 6 or something. She's now 4. So we still have some time when I can control, but I don't know really how long it will be. But now all Channel 4 news people, like children, coming to their fathers about why there's a film for Sama and not us.
It's pretty hard growing up in Shepherd's Bush for
and
my
especially
kids.
your
And
kids.
we're going to have
like
they have a for Eva how I survived the Uxbridge Road. Why did you stay on the Uxbridge Road? Why didn't you leave? We stayed.
Hello, it's
Hi.
a very, very good film, and I'm really glad you made it, because I'm really, really anti-war. It really keeps me up at night, what's going on in the world now. But one thing that struck me about this film is how come every time they mention the bombers, they call them the Russians. I mean, why hasn't anyone talked about what David Cameron did, what Israel did, the EU, and all the rest of them? I just feel that might be a bit of propaganda or something. I don't know, but there's something not quite right about that to me.
yeah, like there was 9 hospitals in Aleppo, and 8 of them were destroyed totally, because all of them, they give the location for the UN to give it to the Russian to promise them not to bomb these hospitals. And we were the only hospital we refused that, and it was on Hamza and the board responsibility, and they could have been bombed, and in that way Hamza will be responsible of that, but they were just like, no, this is the right things to do. Unfortunately, you can see like now 3 years later, the hospitals in Idlib and the countryside have the same plan from the UN of giving us your location, and we will give it to Russian, and Russian will promise not to bomb it. And they give it, and now you can see like just I think 1 month ago you did a whole report.
We did Inside Aleppo at the time. We're now doing a series called Inside Idlib, and we had an amazing film on tonight about school kids trying to get taught in schools. We've had another
the white helmet attack.
We had a film last week about children trying to scavenge a living from a sort of dump, and then we had a film about an attack on an ambulance. There is an attack on a house, and an ambulance goes out, and then the plane comes back round to hit the ambulance, and then another ambulance comes, and it comes back round to hit that. And it kind of tells you what state we're in the world. I mean, it's always a dramatic thing to say what state we're in the world, but there have been so many clear attacks on medical facilities in Syria by Russian or regime planes that it's just accepted that that's what happens. And the fact that the UN is still giving the coordinates because they think the right thing will be done, but it's not, is an extraordinary thing. And it's the sort of thing that 5, 10, 15 years ago in my career we would have reported, and you'd have perhaps hoped that something would have changed or that it would have been a big thing. But there's so many things going on in the world that it's just become almost an accepted fact, and there isn't even really a proper UN war crimes investigation into it, or UN action, or it's just powerless. And it's an extraordinary thing to keep reporting on, because Aleppo was now 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and we're reporting about it in a different district of area of Syria.
And also, like, we did a screening at the UN, and it was more all the conversation after the screening about bombing hospitals. And until now, they use this like passive tense about the hospitals were bombed, or the hospital was bombed. And everyone come to us after this, like, we knew who's doing this, we knew how that works, but we can't do something in public because the Russian is one of the Security Council member. So like we can't use that to point them in front of their face. And you can read the last New York Times investigation about bombing hospitals. The Times. And it was about 4 hospitals being attacked, and they have the record from the Russian airplane when they were saying we did it, and then you can see on the cameras and on the, I don't know how they cut that, but they say it where it was and when and how it was just a hospital 4 times in different places in Idlib. So like the evidence are everywhere, but just like if you want to be so comfortable of this, oh, we don't know who did this, and that's it. But if you want to really do something and look for real and proper accountability, there's millions of evidence. There's a great organization, one of them Physicians for Human Rights in USA, who's doing all this, like saving all these records. There's, I don't know, like thousands, like SAMS, SEMA, many organizations who have all the records from everything, and the evidence are so clearly, like, clear.
Right, moving, I think we're going to move on to another question now. Right, at the back, there.
Hi, firstly, fantastic film, just amazing to see it also from a women's perspective, which is, you don't really often see. And secondly, just, so you alluded to trolling earlier from the Russians that, you've suffered. I was wondering if, Waad, if you've also suffered similar trolling in response to your film since now, and how you deal with that.
For the film, so far there's nothing, and I'm so like, I don't know why that's, but I'm so happy that it's not happening yet. But when we were in Aleppo, and there's like some random tweets about who are these people, and you have that question many times about you didn't show her face, so this is fake and this is not even exist. So like different things, small ones, but until now I have nothing from anyone, which is amazing.
It's just a question around kind of objectivity and how you actually stay objective. And I suppose one of the kind of interesting points was when President Obama at some point said, you know, there's a red line, and if they cross it, we're going to do something. And do you find that with kind of how you report that suddenly something's a bit not acceptable, but it's harder to say, no, this is when we're going to say stop? Because you were saying how you sent journalists to see the other side. And do you at some point go, I mean, it must be incredibly difficult for yourself and for kind of the top of the organisation to look back and go, are we going to still allow, you know, when do you stop, and kind of what conversations do you have around that, kind of the objective side?
I think there's British television news, I think, is the best television news in the world. It may still be. I think it's really under threat. We're regulated by Ofcom, and the relevant phrase is due impartiality. And at Channel 4 News, we discuss it every night, like, okay, so on the one hand, they said there'd be a red line and they've crossed it. On the one hand, Trump says he's doing this, but he's done that. And I think we puzzle over it more than with each successive month as the world gets slightly madder, more and more. And especially with Brexit, because it was going to be this thing and there's going to be that thing. And I think we have, because of the remit of the programme, that we have a lot more independent voices and we're meant to be more challenging. We stay duly impartial. We get a lot of criticism for our coverage of Aleppo, or our coverage of Brexit, or our coverage of Cambridge Analytica, or something like that. But it's a constant struggle and, to be honest, debate, because we think we're failing all the time, because less and less people are listening to what we're saying, or the BBC is saying, or other organisations. And so what is due impartiality when people are in power who regularly lie? If you call them liars, then they cut you off. It happened to us. My boss called Boris Johnson a liar, and they stopped talking to us for 6 weeks. And and I'm constantly watching other people thinking, well, is it right that other news organisations are bending over backwards to try and be duly impartial? Did we cover the Brexit thing? So I mean, I'm not really giving you an answer. I'm just rambling. But it's a constant. But with Aleppo, I mean, war is not really a story about military, or it's a story about who suffers where, if you're being honest. And so if the majority of the suffering is within the besieged area of Aleppo, of the rebels, be they jihadis or whatever, it's really a story about civilian suffering, because you can show all the bang bang you want and do all that, but that is just a game of military tactics. You should be covering where the majority of suffering is, and I'm very pleased that the majority of our coverage of Aleppo, or the war in Syria, was of those who were suffering rather than those who weren't. And we went to great lengths to go to the other side, the government side, but of course they wouldn't give us access, because as soon as we were showing Waad stuff, they were saying, well, that's unfair, we don't like what you're showing, so we're not going to show you the other side, because they don't want to see the other side, because it was an asymmetric war.
How did you feel, Waad, about giving your footage, because you probably felt very strongly against the models, how do you feel about giving your footage to an organisation that then is trying to be objective, so shows the other side?
Like, I didn't feel they are showing the other side.
Did everyone hear that question, by the way? How did Waad feel about giving her footage to an organisation that was also showing the other side of the war?
So the main things was for me, and this is some of the points which I was putting in every work I was doing even before Channel 4 News, about how they've seen our story and how they've used the words about this. So for one who will say like this is a civil war, I will never ever do that. And the fact that I didn't feel that they are showing the other side, because on the other side where when Krishnan was in the west of Aleppo, I was watching everything he was doing, and I know that in some places he need to be nice or speak in very good way with some of the government officers, but he wasn't at all. And there was one interview with one called Firas Shabi, he's in the MP of Syria, and he was like attacking him with many questions, where I've sent you and Nevine about like, tell Krishnan that he can't do this in Syria. Like, this is really, I was worried about him. And it was like, you can't do this, even if you want to go and be like objective in that side, out of anything else happening. You can't do what you are doing. And I've seen like, there's many people who's really suffering under the regime area from different sides. And also people, and I've seen what they were trying to do. It's more, they weren't going to the military basic where the Russian are and speaking with these officers about the great work that they were doing, like other channels. It was more about going to the people like us. Maybe my family was in that side of the city and they have a lot of problems and basic things. So showing that side for me wasn't taking the like this and this. It was more about the human being who's suffering in both sides and giving the voice for everyone who need to be voiced. But until now, if you looked back at that, and please, I do you to look and see that, they never said something to one of the governments in the place that, oh, you're doing well with killing the tourists in the other side. With many other like journalists did, and I know them. One of them he came to east part of Aleppo after being in west part of Aleppo. It was that 2014 where there was cross border, and we were like, I will not speak to you because I've seen what you've done 2 days ago with one of the military like services in Aleppo, when you were asking them, oh, like you're killing tourists in that side. And like for me, this is not my voice. And even if I will be like that, the other side of the voice, I will not give you my voice. I prefer to be silent and not speak to you and not giving you that voice that, oh, you are the objective of being seeing the both sides of the story.
We have time for one more question, and I had your hand up for a long time.
Thank you, Waad. Thank you very, very much for your film. Everything about it is really courageous, but for me, one of the most courageous things was the way you talked to and filmed the children in the film. And I felt very much, your terror for Sama and would she be okay, but also the footage of the little boys whose brother was killed, and of your friend's son, where you were asking, do you want to leave? And I just wanted to ask you about how it was for you filming the children and talking to them, which I thought you did with great respect as well.
Like for me, when I was there, I've never thought I would be like out and survive. So everything I was trying to do is like, oh, we are all will be killed. So even if I did something, sometimes I don't want to speak with this boy because I feel like I can't do this. But I need, because tomorrow him and me will be killed and no one will see that story. So I was just trying to be like very normal with anyone around, as I was part of that community and I knew that feeling, and I knew that maybe my daughter will be in that feeling. So a lot of things, if I knew that I would be survive, or if I know that I'm coming for a while and I will leave, I could have never done that. But because of that strong feeling that we are all here together in this, I was able to do a lot of things which, as I said, like maybe I will not do it if I knew what the end of this story. And focusing on the children or like the women or the people who were around, it was like the reality of the situation. Aleppo was like a city full of children, and me as a person who is very well educated, who I'm very understanding about the situation, and I was so like understand that this is too risky. And I brought one child and I was pregnant with the second one. So it's like something you can feel during the life, that there's many, many children and there's many life stories more than the death. So just focusing on that in one way, that I was following what my feeling was around. And that was, like you can see like many, many children in my footage. Or I think in any other people footage if they were focusing about just the normal life in the city.
Right, I think you might all need a stiff drink after that extraordinary film. Thank you all for coming, and a huge thank you to Waad Al-Kateab.
And it will be on Channel 4,
Channel 4,
yeah.
9 o'clock, 26th. And for Summer Film, isn't it? .com. Please share it. Thank you.